Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today, September 12th, and right now we're looking at the Langley Doppler radar. You can see some light precipitation making its way towards the coastline. We'll check out those details here in some of the high resolution models. We'll also take a look at the ridge that's going to be building towards the middle and end of this week here, warming us up nicely across the region. And then we'll look at the extended forecast as well and try to see if we can see that transition to fall start to occur. But anyway, let's just dive into things here, and you can see we've got the mid-level water vapor loop in that weak system sliding through the area. So not too impressive here, but it might bring a little bit of light precipitation. Again, the higher terrain is going to be mostly targeted and generally areas north and west of Seattle along the coastline. And this is if you want to save 10% off on a nice affordable home weather station. I've been comparing this against much more expensive equipment. It's extremely accurate, stores all the data for you in the cloud, and it's kind of fun to watch. You can see the sun has been rising this morning, starting to pick up some UV index as well. You can see the solar radiation increase. You can see the wind update in real time here. The pressure and the temperature are very accurate. So yeah, go ahead and get one. Click on the link down below. It's very fun. It tells you how much it rained the previous day, for how long it rained. You can set up alerts to let you know when it starts raining at your house. So looking at SeaTac yesterday, 73 degrees right there at average, no precipitation, and it's going to be tough to wring out any with this very weak frontal system moving through the area. But there is hope as we go through September. More on that here in a moment. Taking a look at some light precipitation across western Washington yesterday, and you can see they got some along the Oregon coast, but generally less than 1/10 of an inch here. But it's something. I mean, I guess beggars can't be choosers, but definitely not a very impressive system rolling through. So this is looking at 700 millibars, 10,000 feet. We got Alaska, BC, Washington, Oregon. You can see the weak system kind of swinging through here and that cold air moving, but then you'll see the ridge start to build here, and we warm things up and get some nice toasty temperatures for some portions of the area. Then we kind of swing a trough through British Columbia there, and then you'll see kind of a deeper trough set up over some of the west coast here, kind of looking off into fantasy land here, but a nice visual representation of what's going on at 10,000 feet. And you kind of see how this cold air moves around the planet, and maybe the Gulf of Alaska low will get cranking here towards the end of September here. So just kind of an interesting visual diagram. Of course, take it with a grain of salt when we start looking out this far, but this is the GFS at 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. Use this for general ridge and trough position. You can see the ridge build across Pacific Northwest here. And then we kind of swing a trough through British Columbia there. And of course, once we start getting a little further out, the GFS and the European have been disagreeing a little bit, but the GFS wants to carve this trough down across some of the west, but a big ridge building across the Gulf of Alaska. This is just a monster ridge here. Look at these heights all the way up into Alaska, Northwest Territories, and the Yukon there as well. So something interesting to watch here as we go through the extended, and then showing a deep trough right off the Pacific Northwest. But this is, you're talking 10 plus days right now, purely a fantasy forecast. This is looking at the GFS. You can see that precipitation moving on the shoreline here, and again, maybe across some of the Cascades, the Washington coast. But the further you go north, out of northwest out of Seattle along the Vancouver Island and western BC coastline, better the chances are going to be. Now, if you scroll out, you'll notice we get that lack of precipitation as we go through the end of the week here, and then finally towards the end of the week, another weak system wants to swing by. And if we go out into fantasy land, of course, there's always going to be something. You can see a better precipitation event maybe showing up here towards the end of September. So, cross your fingers for that, but don't quite hold your breath just yet. This is looking at Seattle. Check it out Friday, Saturday, up into the 80s here, and then dropping back down towards much more seasonal temperatures after that. Maybe a trough moving through the area, but another pretty nice weekend coming up here. And Sunday might be that transition day, so we'll watch that as we go as well. This is looking at Spokane. You can see that warm up and then the potential cool down off through the future. Portland, look at this. You might get a 90-degree day as we roll through Friday. Saturday, very warm again. Then that transition day on Sunday as that trough tries to move down across the area. Here we go with this next system. You can see it's kind of a pathetic looking excuse for precipitation chance here. I don't know if we're going to be able to tip the rain bucket there, but then you can see the next system kind of rolling through the day Sunday. Maybe we'll get some better chances with that one. We'll see how that trends here over the next day or two. This is Hoquiam, Bowerman Airport there, and you can see maybe a 1/10 of an inch here as we go through the day today. We'll see how that turns out, but you can see the next system looming at the end of the model run there on last night's European. This is Quileute. Better chances a little bit further you go north on the coastline, but still not a very impressive signal. And then you can see the next system out there on the 060 European ensembles. So looking at 6-hour precipitation type, you can see the European again, maybe a little bit of light precipitation across western Washington, southwest BC. But again, the further you go to the northwest, the better your chances. Then you can see the ridge build. We knock down any precipitation chances here. But then you can see that system kind of move through the day Sunday. So we'll watch this one and see how it trends. It looks like it's dying by the time it gets towards western Washington, but we have plenty of time to check that out here over the next couple of days. Here's thunderstorm potential here as we go, mainly Boise off to the east and portions of Montana. Generally thunderstorm free across Washington and much of Oregon there. Same thing for day 2. This is Portland International. I wanted to show you guys that little bit of precip showing up for that next system there. But again, plenty of time to check that out. Vancouver, something similar to what Seattle is showing here also. And this is looking at the NAM3 cam, so high resolution model. If we look at this, you see it's not showing much for Seattle. Better chances the further you go north, get across Skagit, Whatcom, maybe Bellingham, picking up a little bit of precip. Southwest BC, the Washington coast. So just kind of a high resolution model look here. Maybe ring out a couple tenths of an inch of rain across some of the higher areas of the Cascades. This is this morning's hot off the presses NAM. Goes out about 60 hours, so it's not completely done running yet. Here's the high resolution Canadian model. It's not too far out from what the NAM was showing, I don't believe. Yeah, but yeah, not too much. Nothing too impressive here showing up, but the clouds are definitely moving over the area and cooling us down from where we were this weekend. Now here we go with the European. Let's take a look what it has to say yesterday afternoon. Here we go with the ridge building. Nice warm days coming up here as we go towards the weekend. Weak trough swinging through, and it doesn't bring too much, but then not a bad system here though as we start to roll 120 plus hours out there across BC. Shouldn't have too much of an impact here though across a lot of the Pacific Northwest, but again, we'll watch how that trends. And then you can see maybe a trough dropping down as we move into the later portions of September. We'll watch that, of course. Plenty of time to look at that stuff. Now, looking at the National Blend of Models, you can see what about 70 for Seattle today, up into the upper 70s, maybe 80 degrees for portions of the Willamette Valley. A little bit of a warm up tomorrow. Thursday, we start to bounce back. Look at that, some 90s showing up down towards Medford and Eugene down there, and you can see Seattle probably bouncing back up into the 80s. Some 90s showing up for the Willamette Valley by the time you get towards Friday. Another warm day Saturday, and then that transition day as that system tries to sag across the area as we go through the day Sunday, and then the trough moves across the region here and we cool things down a bit, much more seasonable, but definitely a warm weekend. Looks like it's coming up with Sunday being the transition day. Check it out, Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Looking at the fantasy windstorm hunt, you can see a few gusts over 40 miles per hour showing up in some of the ensembles way out there. Purely fantasy, just a novelty at this point, but you can start to get some of these frontal systems rolling through here towards the end of September. And I did a fantasy hunt here for Bella Bella, Campbell Island up there in British Columbia, and if you look way out on ensemble member number 45, you can see some pretty impressive gusts. So I pulled that one up, and if you take a look here out over the Gulf of Alaska, look at this strong storm developing. 978 millibars right into Haida Gwaii, 970, 969. Pretty impressive storm there rolling in. It's not unheard of this time of year. Could happen, but it's just a fantasy look at things. Just having fun with the weather and looking off into the future a bit. The very end of the European run all the way out towards September 26th. You can see there's absolutely nothing to be worried about as of right now with that. Purely a novelty. 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook here. Still that above average signal as we go through September 21st. And here goes the 6 to 10 day precipitation. Introducing a little bit down there across Oregon and Idaho. We'll see how this trends over the next few days. Kind of a muddled signal. This was put out September 8th here. So this goes to September 23rd through October 6th. And I just wanted to point that out because the Pacific Northwest kind of bullseyed there with an above average precipitation signal. We'll see how that works out. But anyway, 3 to 4 week temperature outlook, nothing special here. And anyway, so yeah, we'll watch these systems as they try to get down in here. Pretty typical for this time of year. We get these frontal systems that just don't pack that much of a punch. But eventually we'll start to get some stronger storms down in here. It just depends on whether it's later September or on in through October. And by the time we get towards November, almost certainly we'll start to get systems down in here as well. That is definitely the peak of the rainy season as you get towards the later portion of November here. Then a very slow decline as you go through fall and on and through the winter months here as we remain usually pretty wet here across the Pacific Northwest. You guys know the drill. But anyway, yeah, we'll continue to watch this. I'm still waiting for that El Nino data to come in here. Then I'm going to do a video on it. We'll talk about El Nino in depth for what you can expect along the West Coast, how it changes the pattern across the Pacific Ocean, and we'll look at sea surface temperatures and all kinds of good stuff. We'll look at data for Seattle, Los Angeles, some areas across the Pacific Northwest. We'll look at some of the snow amounts that we get in El Nino versus La Nina years across some of the Cascades as well. So hopefully you guys will be able to view that video here in the next couple of days. Still waiting for that data again. I've almost got the video complete. Just need to get that data incorporated in there. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow in my regular briefing, and I'll see you then.